Hello everyone, welcome back again. This is Moksha here. In my last videos, I have shown you how to record first macro, and in my second video, I have shown you to saving a macro file, and third video, I have shown you how do we assign a macro to a button or run a macro to a through a button. So in this video, I am going to cover the different type of recordings. So there are basically two types of recordings, macro recordings. One is absolute recording. It's a normal kind of recording that we usually do, and it repeats the steps that we recording during the macro recording at the same cells, and it runs the macro at the same cells and repeat the steps at the same cells while recording. But its alternate is if we want to run a macro at our specific cell or the cell we want to run. That kind of macro, we have a different kind of recording that is called relative references recording. So that recording, basically relative references recording, remembers the position of active cells from the previous position and runs the macro at current active cell. So these are the kind of uh, macro recordings we have. Let us have a look at one by one. In my previous video, I have shown you a kind of a template we made from a macro. So that is called the absolute recording. Basically, what it does. So I have made a template starting from G1. I have started entering some text from G1 to K1 and made some template, small template, a body of a template from a recording. So if I run the macro, absolute macro, it goes to, if I run the macro, it goes to the same cells where we started the macro or where we started the recording the macros. So it is basically the absolute recording. It does the absolute steps that we recording during the macro recording. But relative reference macro is different to it and keep notice of the active cell and run the macro at the active cell. Let's I show you example. If in the absolute recording it goes to same cells, like I started recording from G1 and again it goes to the G1 while while I run the macro. But in absolute recording, but in the relative reference recording, it runs like my active cell is like this now, like this, like this. So if I want to run my macro here, so absolute recorded macro doesn't do it, so it cannot do. So this can be done using a relative reference. Reference is macro recording. So let's record a relative reference macro. Let's make this template again, but we run this template at our specified position, not the macro goes absolutely to its previous the recorded position. Let's again go to the developer tab, and in developer tab you see this in code group record macros. Here you can also see use relative references. So while recording at the beginning of the recording, before I start recording, I should check, enable this, use relative references, and then I should record macro. So here this window pop up and I should give a name to my macro. I want to give a name like relative ref record relative macro and leave this shortcut key area blank, and I'm not giving any description. So let's give a description to my macro, like this is my relative reference recording, then press OK. Now instead of selecting this cell, what I do, I start typing like April, May, June, July, August. Then I should give some background color, and I should make body of the tablet like this, and some outer border. Now my small template is done now. Now I have to go to the my developer tab and stop recording. Now my relative reference recording is done. Now I am deleting these columns from here, data, this template here, and now let's run this relative reference macro. So before running this macro, we should assign this macro to a button, because I never want to run a macro through a shortcuts key combinations. So insert a shape from here. As I already shown, I already told you that I prefer this edged rectangle shape, and I should give a name to my button. Let's expand it and so that the text should appear properly. Button is ready now. I should assign, now I am going to assign this relative reference recorded macro to the shape. I'm clicking this macro and pressing OK. So now my macro is assigned to this shape, and if I click here, my macro should run here, not to those same cells where I start recording like this. So this is basically the relative reference macro, and our macro is running the cells where we are activating, or the cells where we specify. So this is basically the relative reference recording. Let's see the difference between the relative reference recording and absolute recording. Now again I can insert a shape from here and name it like absolute recording. And let's assign the absolute recorded macro. In my last recording, I made this macro, my macro 1, and this is recorded absolutely. So now we have two buttons. One is for relative reference recording and second for absolute recording. So if I click on absolute recording, it goes to the same cells, because I started recording from G1 and it goes to the same cell G1 and does the repeated thing. But in relative reference recording, it runs at the current active cells, like this one is active cells that will run from here. So wherever the active cell is, it will run from here. So these are kind of two kind of recordings. So anyone we can use So it depends upon our requirement, what is our requirement, what we want to do, and use both kind of requirements. And I have shown you how do we record our macro in a two different kind of ways. And in my next videos, I'm going to show how do we assign a macro to this ribbon, or how do we make a tab here and assign a list of our macro to in a tab, and how do we assign a macro to the quick access toolbar. So thank you for watching, and I will keep posting further videos on detailed knowledge of VBA and macros. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you like it. Press the like button, and if you want to share this video, definitely share my video. Thank you for watching. This was Moksha. Bye bye.